A young woman vanishes after leaving a crowded diner. Her car is found hours later, doors locked, headlights still on, and her purse untouched on the passenger seat. For over 20 years, her photo has hung on the town's bulletin board, eyes frozen in time, begging for answers. But when new DNA evidence surfaced, it didn't just rewrite her story, it connected her case to 3 others across state lines. And what investigators uncovered next shocked everyone. It's 1999 in Maplewood, Oregon. Population, just over 3,000. A quiet town where everyone knows everyone, or at least they thought they did. 23-year-old Cynthia Smith was the heart of the community, a bright college graduate, volunteering at a local animal shelter. Her smile was the kind that made strangers feel safe, that made her disappearance feel impossible. Witnesses last saw Cynthia leaving Dale's Diner just after 9:30 p.m., waving goodbye to her friends under the neon glow. She never made it home. When police found her car abandoned on the old highway, it was like time had stopped inside it. No sign of struggle. No fingerprints. No tracks. Just silence. We post daily. Subscribe so you never miss a case that still keeps detectives awake at night. Cynthia Smith's life was the kind that looked picture perfect from the outside, the kind of life people scrolled past on social media and smiled at. She had just graduated with honors from Oregon State University and landed a job offer from a Portland design agency. Her fiancé, Michael, a local firefighter, was building them a small home on the outskirts of town, a white house with blue shutters, surrounded by pine trees. Everything about Cynthia's future seemed set in motion. But sometimes even the brightest lives flicker before they go dark. Friends later recalled how Cynthia had changed in the months leading up to her disappearance. She'd grown quieter, jumpy, more withdrawn. Once the life of every gathering, she'd begun skipping dinner plans, telling friends she was just tired. At the animal shelter where she volunteered, she'd started leaving earlier than usual, locking the doors twice before she left. Her mother, Linda, noticed it too. Cynthia had called one night in tears, saying she felt like someone was following her home from work. She'd seen the same dark truck parked outside her apartment 3 nights in a row. When Linda urged her to report it, Cynthia hesitated. "Mom," she said softly, "I don't want people to think I'm crazy." A few days later, Michael found a strange note under Cynthia's windshield wiper. No signature. Just 2 words, "Nice smile." He brushed it off as a prank. Cynthia didn't. The following week, she told coworkers she was thinking of changing her number. Her phone had been ringing at odd hours, always from blocked IDs. When she picked up, there was no voice. Only silence and faint breathing. Still, she tried to hold her life together. She went to church on Sundays, volunteered at the community fair, and helped her younger sister move into her dorm. But beneath that smile, fear was taking root. The Friday before she vanished, she told her friend Abby something that would later haunt everyone who heard it. "I feel like something bad's about to happen," she whispered. "Like I'm being watched." That night, the streetlight outside her apartment flickered out. And somewhere in the darkness, someone was waiting. It was a rainy Saturday night, the kind that makes small towns feel even smaller. Cynthia Smith had spent the evening at Dale's Diner with her 2 closest friends, laughing over milkshakes and fries. She'd seemed distracted, glancing toward the window every few minutes. Abby later told police, she kept saying she felt like someone was outside. At 9:32 p.m., Cynthia waved goodbye and stepped into the drizzle. Security footage showed her unlocking her silver Honda Civic, pausing for just a second as if she heard something behind her. Then she got in and drove off. That was the last confirmed sighting of her alive. By 10:15 p.m., a truck driver passing along Highway 41 noticed a car pull to the side of the road, hazard lights blinking through the storm. He slowed down but didn't stop. "I thought whoever it was had help on the way," he later said. When police searched that same stretch of highway an hour later, the car was gone. At 11:47 p.m., Michael called Cynthia's phone. No answer. He called again. Straight to voicemail. By midnight, he was on the road, retracing her usual route home. And then, just past mile marker 12, he saw her car, sitting silently on the shoulder, headlights dim, wipers still swaying against the glass. Inside, everything was exactly how she'd left it. Her purse on the passenger seat. Her jacket folded neatly in the back. Keys still in the ignition. But there was no sign of Cynthia. Officers arrived minutes later. They found a single footprint near the driver's side door, partially washed away by rain. And beside it, a faint drag mark that disappeared into the mud. Search dogs were brought in at dawn. They picked up her scent for nearly half a mile before it vanished near an old service road. That same area had been reported months earlier for suspicious activity, abandoned tents, tire tracks, beer cans. 2 days later, an anonymous letter arrived at the police station. No return address. No fingerprints. Just one chilling line written in red ink. She didn't scream. That single sentence would haunt investigators for years. And it was only the beginning. Detectives launched a full-scale search by sunrise. Helicopters hovered over the fog-soaked forest, and volunteers combed through miles of brush. But after 48 hours, there was still no trace of Cynthia Smith. No witnesses. No screams. No signs of a struggle. It was as if she'd simply been erased. The Maplewood Police Department formed a task force, Operation Silent Trail. Dozens of leads came in, most of them dead ends. One man claimed he saw a woman running along the highway barefoot. Another swore he heard a scream near the old quarry. Every call sent officers sprinting, but each search ended the same. Nothing. When investigators revisited Cynthia's car, they noticed something they'd missed before. Under the driver's seat lay a small silver chain one her mother said didn't belong to her. Lab results revealed faint traces of male DNA. Not enough for a full match, but enough to narrow the field. Then came the first real lead. A convenience store camera, located 5 miles from where Cynthia's car was found, captured a blurry figure walking alone around 10:50 p.m. The footage was grainy, distorted by rain. But the outline, slender, soaked, moving fast, looked eerily like Cynthia. Following behind, at a distance, was a dark silhouette. Broad shoulders. But pulled up. Detectives pulled license plate data for every vehicle that passed the highway between 9 p.m. and midnight. One name kept repeating: Evan Holt, a truck driver with prior assault charges in Washington. He'd made a fuel stop 30 minutes from Maplewood the same night Cynthia vanished. When police traced him to a rental property, he was gone. Inside the small cabin, investigators found a collection of newspaper clippings, all featuring missing women from across Oregon, Idaho, and Montana. Pinned at the center of the wall was Cynthia's smiling photo from her college graduation. But then a twist: DNA from the silver chain didn't match Evan Holt directly. It matched his father, Raymond Holt, a convicted felon who died years earlier. The connection sparked chaos in the task force. Could the father's death have been staged? Or had Evan continued a legacy of violence his father began? As the FBI joined the investigation, one thing became clear: Cynthia Smith's disappearance was part of something far bigger. And somewhere out there, the man who took her was still watching. Weeks turned into months, and Cynthia Smith's case grew colder with every passing day. The flyers faded from telephone poles. The search dogs stopped coming. And in Maplewood, life slowly returned to normal, except for those who knew her. For them, time froze the night she vanished. Then, nearly a year later, a hunter in northern Idaho stumbled upon something deep in the woods: an old campsite, half buried under leaves and rain-soaked tarps. Inside one of the tents, detectives found a weathered notebook. The handwriting was erratic, uneven. And on the first page, one name appeared over and over again: Cynthia. The notebook's contents were chilling: dates, locations, short phrases like "watched her again today" and "she trusts too easily." But the final page stopped everyone cold. Read: "She didn't scream the way I thought she would." Forensics confirmed the notebook belonged to Evan Holt, the missing truck driver tied to Cynthia's case. But Holt himself was never found. His abandoned rig was discovered weeks later near the Nevada border. Engine running, door open, keys still dangling. Inside the glove compartment were more photographs: different women, all taken from a distance, all missing. The FBI connected Holt to 3 unsolved disappearances across the Pacific Northwest. Each victim shared striking similarities: young women, dark hair, last seen alone on highways late at night. Cynthia was the last known. When Cynthia's mother was shown the evidence, she broke down. "I always told her to trust her instincts," she said through tears. She knew something was wrong. Still, one thing continued to haunt investigators: DNA found near the Idaho campsite that didn't belong to Holt or any known victim. Another man. Unknown. Was Evan Holt working with someone else? Or was he the final victim of a partner even more dangerous? The case remains open. Every few years, new tips emerge: a truck sighting, a letter, a voice on the phone claiming to know where Cynthia is. None have led to her. To this day, her photo still hangs in the Maplewood Sheriff's Office, her smile frozen in time, her story unfinished. The FBI now calls it the Highway Phantom Files. And until the man or men responsible are caught, the truth about what really happened to Cynthia Smith remains buried in the dark. Because some monsters never stop driving. Criminal profilers studying Cynthia Smith's disappearance describe her abductor as a methodical predator, someone who carefully observed, planned, and executed every step without leaving much behind. This level of control points to what psychologists call an organized offender. Intelligent, socially functional, but deeply manipulative beneath the surface. He wasn't impulsive. He stalked. He studied her routines, her vulnerabilities, and her sense of safety, dismantling them piece by piece. His goal wasn't just to harm, it was to dominate. The repeated letters and eerie message, "She didn't scream," reveal a disturbing psychological trait, a craving for power and validation. This wasn't about revenge or passion. It was about ownership. Offenders like this often feel invisible in society. Their crimes become their way of forcing the world to notice them. Behavioral experts suggest a background of early emotional neglect or abuse, possibly from a controlling or violent household. That history breeds an obsession with control, the same control denied to them as children. The connection to multiple states and the near-perfect staging of scenes suggests he had experience with isolation and travel, traits often found in transient workers or long-haul drivers. They blend in. They leave unseen. Psychologists call this the hunter pattern. These offenders choose victims who remind them of something or someone they couldn't control. Once the victim is gone, the rush fades and the cycle restarts. But what makes this case even darker is the possibility of two hunters. The unidentified DNA near the Idaho campsite implies a partner, maybe someone who shared the same obsession, or someone Holt manipulated. If that's true, Cynthia's abduction wasn't random. It was coordinated, rehearsed by two men who found power in the same cruelty. To this day, experts believe the man who took her didn't stop there. He simply adapted. New name, new truck, new town. Because for minds like his, stopping isn't peace, it's punishment. And somewhere out there, he's still chasing that feeling. The silence after a scream. Cynthia Smith's story isn't just another cold case. It's a reminder that behind every missing poster is a heartbeat that once filled a room, a family that still leaves the porch light on, and a silence that refuses to fade. Her name lives on in whispers in late-night true crime forums, in sleepless detectives still searching the old highways, and in a mother who never stopped hoping for one last call. If this case left you unsettled, you're not alone. Some mysteries don't end, they echo. Because somewhere out there, the person who took Cynthia might still be driving the same roads, watching the same headlights fade into the night. Tell us your theory in the comments below. Do you believe the second DNA belongs to a partner, or was Evan Holt just the beginning of something bigger? Subscribe to Behind the Crime for more real stories that still haunt America's quietest towns.